So a couple of days ago, I finally finished Harry Potter. And in German, I might add. Obviously, I read it when I was a kid, a very long time ago. But this has been an endeavour that I've been working on for, I think, the last year or so. All 7, by the way, not just the last one. I didn't just skip to the end. But how many words is in the total Harry Potter series? 1 million words. That's pretty cool, 1 million words. And it's been so much fun reading it. I really enjoyed reading Harry Potter. It actually taught me a lot about German. I mean, I know lots of very useful, everyday words now, like Zauberer, Zwerg, Schloss, Zauberstab, Hexe, really useful things that I'm going to use in my day-to-day life, right? But genuinely, it also really helped me on the grammar and on the vocab as well. So what I'm going to do with this video is take you through some of the magazines and some of the books that I like to read in German and try and plot them against the level at which I started reading them, from A1 to C2 level. So let's start with Harry Potter then. I first started reading this, I think, when I was just after A2, maybe B1 level, and that was about right, maybe a little bit tricky, but you should expect to read it slowly. Something that I've actually read more recently, but which is actually probably better to read earlier, is this, Super Gute Tage. This is the German title, but in English you might recognise it as The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. This is just a fantastic book. This is the first time I ever read it was in German, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's about an autistic child who is trying to sort of perceive the world around him, basically, and there's lots of difficult things happening in his life, and he's seeing it through that lens. So it's a really, really interesting book in general. The sort of advantage of having the narrator that it does and the style that it was written in means that as a language learner, it's actually written in quite simple language. It's quite easy to understand. The metaphors are very direct and very obvious. And I really enjoyed reading this. Okay, the next one, which is actually legit German, is Momo by Michael Ende. And this book is based on a concept of these mysterious men who turn up in the town one day and start stealing time from people. And it's really, really interesting, really good book. And I read this when I was at B2 level, probably. And I think that's probably about right. It's definitely more difficult than Harry Potter, I think. I would say B1's probably going to be challenging, B2's probably going to be okay. So the next one is Mouse, which is actually a graphic novel, which you can see here. It's about a guy who lives in New York, and his father is a Holocaust survivor. So he goes to visit his father one day and asks him, tell me the story about the Holocaust. We've never really spoken about the Second World War. And then the narrative splits between what's happening in New York and the father talking to his son about his experiences, and the narrative based in wartime Germany. But one of the advantages for a language learner is that because it's a graphic novel, almost all of the plot is contained in the dialogue and in the images and in sort of very slight descriptions underneath the pictures to show you what's going on. And that is something that you really find in graphic novels. So Mouse I really enjoyed, and I think it was a really important read as well. But I think anything in a graphic novel form could be really helpful. And what I'm definitely going to do when I get back to the UK is try and seek out a few more books like this that I can go away and read. So that's all the books that I actually have. But I did once, when I was in Germany, pick up a copy of a Roald Dahl book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. If you were A2 or B1, I think you'd be able to pick that up. A2, I think you'd be fine. I haven't looked at Roald Dahl. I think that'd be quite interesting. Quite a nice, easy read, something that you could just churn through to pick up a few new words. That's something that I also want to try out. So Roald Dahl, I'd probably say to try. So the last few things I've got are some magazines. Firstly, I've got Der Spiegel here, which I always buy when I go through an airport because I want to try and look cool, not necessarily because I can actually read it. I do flick through this, and I do get something out of it, but I think it's probably above me. I think this is probably at least C1. I think you'd probably want to have completed your C1 course before you started properly deciding you wanted to read this. But at B2 level, I am reading this and getting enough out of it that it's worth the €4.90. What's perhaps a bit easier is this, The Weekender, which is a very nice magazine. I really, really enjoy it. It's very difficult to describe what it's about, actually. It's usually about the lives of people. They go and find interesting people and talk to them about what they do, and they might be creatives or business people or something like that. And they always have really interesting things to say. And the pictures are also really nice. Very, very nice photography in this magazine. So that's The Weekender, and I would say if you were about B1, I think you could probably pick that up. And the last magazine is this one, Neon. Now, the problem I have with this is that I'm not quite sure how it's perceived, because my fear is that it's like a sort of like a Heat magazine or a Closer or like Cosmopolitan or something in the UK. I don't know why. It's because I think it's quite interesting. It's aimed at 18 to 29 or something. I guess maybe millennial kind of stuff. And I actually really enjoy it. But it's articles like this. Here we go. That says, during sex you don't have to move. And it's a whole article about how this couple decided that they were going to start having sex and just sitting still the whole time, basically. I guess you have to read it, right? If you go and order the back issue, the March issue, and then you'll be able to read that article, I guess. Anyway, the language in this is actually not too bad. And again, it has that really colloquial feel. It's all discussions and stuff like that. So I think you could probably pick this up at about A2 level, maybe the end of A2. I think that would be fine. I started reading it a little bit later than that, but only because I didn't know that it existed. Okay, that was a brief overview of the sort of stuff that I like to read in German, but I think it can transfer to any language. I think if you're going to pick up Harry Potter, if you're going to pick up graphic novels, if you're going to pick up Roald Dahl, in the translation into that local language, they're going to stay at the same sort of reading level, I think. So hopefully the little graph that I put together would apply whether you're learning German or French or Spanish or whatever. But before I go, I want to leave you with one thing that if you are learning German, you can do right now, doesn't cost you anything. Go to Instagram and subscribe to a user called love.kram. It's really cool. She overhears interesting conversations in her life and then goes away and draws illustrations of them and puts them on Instagram. And it's really nice. They're like really beautiful illustrations. I really like them popping up in my newsfeed. But they've always got the German underneath, which I get to then read and I can, feel clever for understanding what it is. But it's not too difficult German, and it's that conversational stuff again, which I've mentioned a couple of times, which is really good. So definitely give her a subscribe. That's a really cool Instagram feed if you're learning German. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you've got any thoughts. Any other books? I would love to hear about books that you guys have read in other languages that I could perhaps try out in German, or French now that I'm going to start learning French. I would love to get some recommendations for French stuff. So please put a comment below and like my video, and please share it if you think you've got some friends who might also be interested. If you want to subscribe, there's a picture of my face here. Click that if you want to subscribe. I'll also put a link to some of my other videos down the side if you want to check them out. But until next time, thanks so much for watching.